Hello there, coming to you live from digital address GA1250238 48 Swaniko Street in Abilimpe. This is our midday bulletin, Pan-African News. We are also live on Facebook and on YouTube at Pan-African Television. My name is Blessed Headman Alormasor, and coming up, the headlines. Majority in Parliament has approved the 2022 budget statement amidst controversies after the minority refused to participate in the process. And then, Finance Minister gives strong indication that government has no intention to remove the e-levy from the 2022 budget statement. And then in business, government says it has scaled up programs and policies to improve and deepen e-agriculture. Well, we've got these and other stories, including international, entertainment and sports, coming to you live here on the news in the next 1 hour. Do stay. Many thanks for your time. Now we are live across some 46 other African countries via satellite and some parts of Europe and on Facebook at Pan-African Television. Now to the details of our stories. Minister of Finance Ken Ofori-Atta has revealed that the government, after consultation with the minority in the aftermath of the rejection of the 2022 budget last Friday, has decided to agree to some of the terms and conditions set by the caucus.
The House presents the 2022 Agenda budget in November 2017. There has been spirited debate, Mr. Speaker, and since the presentation of that budget, the Ghanaian public at large, the minority side, including organizations such as FPOs, unions, employers, NUS, VUTA, AGI, CSOs, etc. I therefore came to this House on Friday, November 26th, with a prayer to speak to the extended leadership of both the majority and minority to enable us discuss these issues. Mr. Speaker, I had humbly reminded the House as to how in the last 5 years there has been a consensus in passing the budget so that we move forward in a unified manner. Unfortunately, this very Ghanaian process was resoundingly rejected last Friday. We as a country must continue to live in unity in these very difficult times. We now move forward, and I'd like to assure the minority that in committee I look to address their concerns as enumerated in their open letter to the public. Mr. Speaker, there was an issue about acre energy which we agreed in our statement, Mr. Speaker, that we will correct the language appropriately during committee meetings, and that we commit to do. Mr. Speaker, there was another request which had to do with a Japan, and we agreed that consultations had not finished. AG is still working on that, and any such issue would also be brought to Parliament. Mr. Speaker, in fact, the estimates do not include any revenue from that transaction. Mr. Speaker, the minority was also worried about the issue of Brikusu and the coastline. Mr. Speaker, we have 140 kilometers of coastline, and from Aflawo to Prampram about 149 kilometers. Mr. Speaker, we commit to look at this problem for the coastline in the coming weeks to ensure that we have resources for the design study and ensure that all on the coastline are taken care of on a policy basis. Mr. Speaker, they introduced the issue of benchmarks value in their new submission. Mr. Speaker, we have been very clear that the issue of enhancing manufacturing in Ghana is important, and we are committed, Lord, Mr. Speaker, to ensuring that all those traders also become part of the manufacturing enterprise that we want. As you know, already the issue of car assemblies are being done, and half of those 41 items that were included include cars. Mr. Speaker, the big issue in the House is the elephant in the room, which is the e-levy. Mr. Speaker, the e-levy enables us to tackle the three issues of debt sustainability, of infrastructure, and most importantly, of our employment issues.
Now, the majority in Parliament has approved the 2022 budget after the earlier decision the minority caucus to reject it was overruled. The decision was taken by the First Deputy Speaker, Joseph Osei-Wusu, after it was advanced that the earlier rejection on Friday lacked legality as the House didn't constitute a majority of its members.
Plus me, MP for the 138. Let me read out the constitutional requirements so that there's no confusion as to who can vote, what numbers are required to take a decision. 4.1. Except as otherwise provided in this constitution, matters in Parliament shall be determined by the votes of the majority of members present and voting. The vote of the majority of members present and voting, with half of all members of Parliament present. What it means is that before you take a decision, there must be at least members present. With me, we have 138 members. That's a majority. It doesn't mean that all the 138 must vote yes or no. A majority of this 138, they are decided. So, I'll go ahead and put the question on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Now, still on the 2022 budget, the majority caucus in Parliament has held a press conference following the approval of the budget. The decision was taken by the First Deputy Speaker, Joseph Osei-Wusu, after it was advanced that the earlier rejection on Friday lacked legality as the House didn't constitute a majority of its members. There's more.
Ladies and gentlemen of the press, on such an important note of victory for democracy and the rule of law, let me not attempt to take the win out of leadership. I humbly invite the only majority leader to address you. Thank you.
members of the media, I think you just witnessed what happened in the chamber today, a response to what happened in the chamber last Friday. Because of that, over the weekend, and indeed this morning, we have been in consultation with our colleagues to enable us approach this outstanding business in unison and in unity. Unfortunately, we got to some extent and we differed on two counts. One had to do with the e-levy matter, and the other to do with the procedure to attend to what we consider an impropriety about what happened last Friday. The House, as you do know, was purported last Friday to have taken a decision on the budget. It was to the effect that Parliament had rejected the economic policy and budget statement of the government for the 2022 financial year as presented to the House by the Minister of Finance on behalf of His Excellency the President on Wednesday, 17th November 2021. On our part, we considered it as a nullity because it did not meet the provisions of Article 104 of the Constitution, which is fortified by our own standing orders, Order 109. On these two counts,
now, away from the majority, let's go to the minority caucus in Parliament, because they have challenged the legality of the approval of the 2022 budget by the majority caucus. Addressing the press, Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu asserted that the conduct of the First Deputy Speaker, Joseph Osei-Owusu, was an affront to the Constitution and standing orders of Parliament. Hence, the approval constituted an illegality.
I'm particularly disappointed in the conduct of the First Deputy Speaker, having to include himself and to exercise a vote in order to meet their mandatory defined 138 without recourse or respect to our standing orders and to the 1992 Constitution. Let him be reminded, and I quote, Standing Order 109, voting in the House. If you want, I'll read it in full. But Standing Order 1092 reads, Mr. Speaker shall have neither an original nor a casting vote, and if upon any question before the House the votes are equally divided, the motion shall be lost, as I indicated. But for our purposes today, 1093 reads, a deputy speaker, and for my purposes, First Deputy Speaker and a member for Bekwai, it reads, I added that. The Constitution says, a deputy speaker or any other member presiding shall not retain his original vote whilst presiding. So constitutionally, they were also 137. So Ghanaians should expect that what they have done is also a nullity, to quote them, if we are to respect the provisions of the Constitution. Standing Order 109 is also itself derived from a constitutional provision of Article 104(2), which reads, the Speaker shall have neither an original nor casting vote. We all know, for purposes of today, that the person presiding And the speaker for today was the Honorable Joseph Osei-Owusu of Bekwai as speaker. He has no business counting himself among them, and therefore, as far as we are concerned, today's vote reflected another 137 by those who respect the tenets of the Constitution and the standing orders of the Parliament of Ghana.
On his part, Minority Chief Whip Muntaka Mubarak Mohammed stated that the minority caucus will be taking a look at the conduct of the majority and ensure that the standing orders of the House as well as the Constitution of the Republic are upheld in the conduct of parliamentary business.
Because tomorrow you see the vote and proceedings. The vote and proceedings will show that the total number of persons will be 137. But ours, you saw today, the vote and proceedings on Friday says we were 274. So the posterity, they may use Patapa because they are in government to say that they will not mind everybody. But in future, tomorrow, everybody will know that they were involved in an illegality. They were just flexing. Well, you raise a counter motion for the same first deputy speaker to preside. You know that even what he did was a very shameful thing. You were part of those who walk out. So you were involved in a fight. And then they bring the victims of the culprit of the fight to a court. And then you, the one who was part of the fight, you're not going to preside as the judge. That's what we are saying. Not shameful. Because he was part of those who walked out. And today, without shame, he's willing to come back and sit to do what his masters wants him to do. When he knew he was part of those who walked out, you measure it. What is the sense of justice? It's a democracy that we are running. It's not a kangaroo kind of thing.
Member of Parliament for Sagnariko constituency, Alhaji A.B.A. Hussein slammed the first deputy speaker for his role in ensuring the earlier decision of a minority and subsequent approval of the 2022 budget.
Is it not a shame that as a deputy speaker who sits in a chair, because in the history of our country, never before in any vote has a speaker ever featured. Never. Because when you occupy the chair as a speaker, your position as an umpire is recognized as regulating the conduct of the House. So that's why the speaker is not allowed to vote. And like it has been amply demonstrated, even the standing orders of our standing order 1093, it's clear that when you assume the chair as speaker, you lose your original vote even if you are a member of Parliament. It's clear. And Honorable Joe Wusu, without any shame, and engage in this comical exercise. They tell you that they have no respect for democracy. These are not democrats. They are just a bunch of despots masquerading as democrats. Because it's very clear that if the speaker was minded to be a democrat, he would have been so ashamed that he would have recused himself and not sat on that chair. They have already declared it a nullity, and going forward, you will see us. So a man in tattered clothes doesn't need a second invitation for a fight.
So what
we are in it.
We expect?
I think the leader told you that at every step of the way, we are going to demand accountability for the good people of this country. And whatever step will be appropriate in that circumstance will be decided by the situation in which we find ourselves.
Now, the Deputy Majority Leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin, has said that the electronic transaction levy, popularly known as the e-levy, will be reduced from 1.75% to 1.5%. According to him, the reduced charge was included in the revised version of the 2022 budget submitted by the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, on November 29, 2021.
Alexander Afenyo-Markin added that the government have agreed on the policy and will come up with a bill where they will scrutinize bill after bill, identify certain provisions, and address certain concerns raised by the public. He revealed that the reduction in e-levy will reflect at the enactment stage of the policy and emphasized that one thing certain in the bill is that the government has shifted the e-levy from 1.75 to 1.5%. This comes after Parliament approved the 2022 budget statement and economic policy of government presented by Minister for Finance Ken Ofori-Atta on November 17, 2021. The budget was approved in the absence of MPs from the minority who declined to participate in the business of the day. In their absence, the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, resubmitted a revised version of the 2022 budget, which was unanimously approved by the majority MPs, including the Speaker.
Now, away from that, the Executive Director of Alliance for Social Equity and Public Accountability, Mensa Thompson, has expressed excitement over Parliament's rejection of the 2022 budget. According to him, the rejection will help deepen the democracy of the country, as well as subject the executive to the tenets of a strong, independent parliament.
To Pan-African Television News, Mr. Thompson indicated that the country has gotten to a point where the executive cannot have its way in terms of budget approval. He said this is an indication that Parliament has moved from what he described as just a rubber stamp for the executive.
Well, I mean, it's a very interesting moment in our democracy. I think that it's a clear indication that our democracy is growing. We've moved out from the times where Parliament has just become, a rubber stamp for the executive, and anything that goes to the House gets passed, whether we like it or not, whether the people of this country approve of it or not. So it shows that now we are at a point in our democracy where, it's only the will of the people of Ghana that is going to suffice in any serious conversation, in any budgetary approvals, in any contract deals or international arrangements, whatever it is. And I think we should be happy. I particularly was pretty much excited. People thought I was being mischievous, but if you look at the process from Parliament from 1992 up to this stage, and after close to 30 years, we've gotten to a point where the executive cannot just do whatever they want, but they have to subject themselves to the tenets of a strong, independent Parliament. I think that's absolutely fantastic, and we should be very proud as a country that we've been able to develop our democracy to this point.
The Executive Director of ASEPA further urged members of the Majority Caucus to reach out to the minority in order to build a consensus rather than being destructive and chaotic.
We've moved away from the moment of the minority to have their say, the majority to have their way. Now it's about what the people of this country want. So instead of being arrogant and necessarily being, destructive, and chaotic in the floor of Parliament or in the discourse of parliamentary business, why don't you reach out? Why don't you try and build consensus? Why don't you use effective collaborative approach so that before even agreements, bills, or whatever it is come to the floor of the House, you've reached out to the other side and they've made significant input, and it's become almost difficult for them to reject their own inputs. And I think that's the cue that the government must take. This is a very great lesson, and it must prompt them of what is to come in the next 3 years. It's not going to be an easy ride, and they must brace themselves up and prepare to be able to extend a hand to all major stakeholders in our democratic process before anything goes on.
Touching on the issuance of a bench warrant for the arrest of the Medina MP Francis Sosu, Mensa Thompson is of the view that the warrant will not prevent the legislator from going to Parliament.
I can assure you that lawyer Francis Sosu will be in the House, whether they like it or not. Yeah, and it's not a disrespect to the court. It's not even. That is not even up for conversation. It's just a fact that the people, they say he who calls for equity must come with clean hands. Those who are calling for him to obey the laws themselves must respect the law first. There are processes in court. He filed an application at the court challenging and suing the police for unlawful arrest. And the processes are still pending. So how then can another court issue a bench warrant for his arrest? And so I can assure you that he's going to be there, and the only message for the people who are, doing this is that he who calls for equity must come with clean hands. If they are calling on Francis Sosu to respect the laws of this country, they must first respect it by respecting the application he has filed at the court first.
For Pan-African Television News, Maud Ya Ananinate reports.
Now, from the 2022 budget and its concomitant issues, the National Identification Authority has attributed the overcrowding at some Ghana card registration centers to the high demand for the Ghana card for the purpose of SIM card re-registration and the need for other services. Head of Corporate Affairs at the NIA, Abdul Ganiyu, has been speaking to Pan-African News.
The Ghana card registration, which is still ongoing at various centers in Accra and other parts of the country, is facing challenges including overcrowding at some centers and the difficulty of some registrants to complete the process. Pan-African Television News interacted with the head of corporate affairs at the National Identification Authority, Abdul Ganiyu, who explains further.
There are a couple of issues. First of all, the services that are provided at the districts and regional offices now are both card issuance and new enrollment. So when we talk about card issuance, we're referring to persons who have already registered for the Ghana card, but these cards were in backlog. Now that the regional and district offices have been established, we have sent the cards to the district and regional offices, where people are asked to go to the districts where they registered for the cards to be issued. So when you go to a typical district office, you would find these other people queuing and their cards being issued. Then you also have persons who have not yet registered for the Ghana card at all. They were told that from the 17th onwards, new registration was going to start in these district offices. So those people are also there. So you find the crowd, persons either going for card issuance or going for new registration. So that certainly would have created more people, as you find at these places. Then the other issue certainly is the SIM card re-registration policy that has come, which is one of the mandatory uses of the Ghana card. So the National Communication Authority has communicated clearly that the only requirement that the individual needs to be able to go through that process is the Ghana card. People have been told that it goes all the way to March next year, but they will still panic, they will still be anxious, because then what if March comes around and I still don't have my Ghana card? So these are the reasons that have accounted for the crowds that you find, and we are looking at a number of measures on how to deal with this situation. One immediate thing we have done is to put on hold the updates and then replacement of cards. We had announced that. So NIA then becomes a state institution that has presence across all our regions and across.
Meanwhile, the head of corporate affairs of the NIA, Abdul Ganiyu, has given reasons why the Ghana card was chosen for the SIM card re-registration process over other identification cards.
It is something that is provided by law. If you go to the LI 211 of the National Identification Register, it provides what we call the mandatory uses of the Ghana card. And those mandatory uses include SIM card registration. So if you want to purchase a SIM card for use in Ghana, then it is mandatory that you use the Ghana card to go through the process. So that is the law. In fact, even for the purposes of voting in this country, again, the Ghana card is a requirement for obtaining a voter ID card or going through the electioneering process in our country. So to that extent, it is what the law provides. And then you also look at a national ID as being for all Ghanaians, irrespective of age, but you look at a voter ID, not for all Ghanaians, but for persons who are eligible to vote. So if you talk about a national ID, it is the Ghana card and no other card, because all other cards only serves what we call sectoral purposes. If you take SNIT, for instance, I don't know whether you have the SNIT biometric card. If you have the SNIT biometric card, then it is because you are an employee and your employers are obliged to pay your social security to SNIT, so on and so forth. But for another person who is not a subscriber of SNIT, the person doesn't get to get what we call the SNIT biometric card. So that doesn't still make the SNIT card a national ID. Do you get my point? When it comes to health insurance, if you do not subscribe to the national health insurance system of our country, which is managed by the National Health Insurance Authority, you don't go for that card, isn't it? Right. But the Ghana card is for all Ghanaians from age 0 to infinity. You must be a Ghanaian. So that's why the law then focuses on the Ghana card, which does not have any sectoral purpose, but simply serves as an identity document for all Ghanaians, irrespective of your age. So that is the reason why you would have the Ghana card being the only requirement for the SIM card re-registration.
Well, that's all for our local stories. We'll be bringing you some business updates shortly.
Hello? Okay, why? My wife comes and send a message. Hello? What's happened?
It's a chunk, but also be a quiet say what? I dare say,
we signed for a friend. I'm so used to. You have not tested messages here. And I office so I'm like Diana. She says, I
mean, so we a guy manu, and may young who could look cry. And also wants a family drilling company limited for Kana.
What's it then? Family Dwelling Company Limited.
Ye two borehole, biofuel, biogas, swimming pool, plumbing works in Naso, ye be, Frey 0240-333-111, and Nasa 0244-144-822.
Miampa and you want swimming pool on me fee. Me want to, we'll be here. Family Dwelling, family Dwelling.
What fast is your last set?
Me out with that.
African Center for Capacity Building, AFCA, organizes the following executive and advanced certificate programs like Executive Certificate in Project Management, Executive Certificate in Human Resource Management, Executive Certificate in Real Estate and Property Management, Executive Certificate in Data and Records Keeping, Executive Certificate in Monitoring and Evaluation, Executive Certificate in Logistics and Transport Management, Executive Certificate in CCTV Monitoring and Installation. AFCA, where capacity building is our priority. For registration and enquiries, please call 0244-405047, 0242-135533. We have our branches in Accra, Tamale, Kumasi, and Wa. Saturdays and weekdays sessions are available. Admission is still in progress. Enroll now. Join the African professionals. AFCAP, where capacity building is our priority.
It's incredible! Bang on target!
Welcome back from that short breather. You're still watching Pan-African News live here on Pan-African Television. If you just some business updates. Minister for Agriculture, Dr. Owusu Efi Akoto, has reassured citizens of the government's commitment on its digitalization drive to spearhead technological agriculture to empower farmers through e-agriculture. The e-agriculture system is a platform that enables agricultural experts, farmers, and community members to exchange opinions and resources relating to agriculture for mutual gain.
The e-system is hinged on delivering agricultural information and knowledge services such as market prices, extension services, technology, policies, programs and projects using the internet and its related technologies. The mission of leveraging technology in all sectors, including agriculture, has birthed the e-agriculture project that seeks to ensure efficient delivery of services to farmers and also actors along the agricultural value chain to enhance productivity and output for greater profitability. Dr. Efiye Akoto emphasized that the e-levy is an important strategy for accelerating our efforts towards the realization of modernization and transformation agenda for agriculture to contribute to the objectives of job creation, food security, and poverty reduction. He indicated that hikes in prices on the international market on agricultural products such as fertilizers and agrochemicals, both of which were critical to achieving the transformational agenda, as challenges. Dr. Efiye Akoto assured that his ministry is working tirelessly to stabilize the agricultural situation in the country and will continue working with private sector and other development partners to deliver and transform an agenda which will ensure food security and build a resilient food systems and support farmers in particular.
That's all for business. We'll take some international updates from the People's Dispatch shortly. Now, on our international front, the Executive Director of Tricontinental Institute for Social Research, Vijay Prashad, and Noam Chomsky are in solidarity with the 450 families who have been ordered to be evicted from the Mariel Vive camp in Sao Paulo. They are calling on authorities to halt eviction.
On Tuesday, November 23, the Sao Paulo Court of Justice authorized the eviction of 450 families living in the Mariel Vive camp of a landless rural workers movement in Valinhos. The decision is in response to a repossession suit filed by El Dorado and Predementos Immobiliarios Farm, which holds the property records of the area. The court's order contradicts Law 14-216-21, enacted by Congress in October of this year, and which suspends forced removals until December 31 due to the health crisis. The families of the camp have been living there for more than 3 years and 7 months. In 2018, when the area was occupied, the farm was kept abandoned and unproductive by its no-try owner. In response to this eviction order, Naomi Chomsky and Vijay Prashad stand in solidarity with the residents of the camp and call for the evictions to be halted. 450 families are at risk of being evicted from the Mariel Vive camp by local authorities in Valinhos, Brazil. This camp is named after the socialist Mariel Franco leader murdered in March 2018. The residents of a camp organized by the landless workers movement have transformed the abandoned land of a real estate speculator known as El Dorado into a genuine community with housing for the residents, a school, a community kitchen, and with agroecological farms. They have done all this over the past 3 years with minimal resources apart from their own ingenuity, their love, and the assistance from the MST. The local judiciary had offered the residents protection till December 3, 2021. After it expires, the residents live under the threat of expulsion. The residents of a camp have a hashtag that tells you how they feel. Hashtag Natal Sem Despejo or Christmas Without Eviction. We join them, but then say further, no eviction ever.
Many thanks to the People's Dispatch for our international updates. We go for a short breather. We return with some sports news.
Hello? Okay, why? Hey, my wife comes and send a message. Hello? What's happened?
It's a child who's will be a quiet say what? A dear friend.
Besides, friend of friend, I'm so young. My wife not testing messages here. And our officer, so I'm trying to tell you, she says, I
mean, so we a guy manu, and may young who could look cry. And also wants a family drilling company limited for Kana.
What's it then? Family Dwelling Company Limited.
Ye two borehole, biofuel, biogas, swimming pool, plumbing works in Naso, ye be Frey 0240-333-111 and NASA 0244-144-822.
Miampa and we want swimming pool on me fee. We want to we'll be BA. Family dwelling now. Family dwelling.
Talk fast is your last shit.
Me out that
It's the most wonderful month of the year, and Ridge Royal Hotel will make it even more superb. Join Let's welcome our brothers and sisters from the diaspora to the historic city of Cape Coast, where it all began. The celebration train begins with a Farmers' Day afternoon jam on December 3 featuring Chirampon Traditional. The Wakanda One City of Return Trade Expo is on from 6 to 12 December. 22nd December is Osabrema Ridge Royal Carol service, and on Christmas Day, the Trinity Music Group will treat you to a fabulous poolside praise. The 27th December or the first of its kind fishermen and fishmongers bash at the pool area. Is also 31st night will be a rollicking time as we enjoy the King's New Year Gala night with the Rock Factory. Truly, December at Ridge Royal Hotel is richly inviting and comfortably yours. Get involved.
Such a happy song.
Hello, information. Me, I have still not got the money for that list of expensive building materials you sent to me. The price of the iron rods have been increased too much, aren't they?
Madam, relax. Look, that's not why I even called. I just visited IPCP, where the engineers told me everything about Trasacco Fast Floor.
Trahuanko, please, those people are expensive. Are they not the people building those big houses in town? I beg Boris Kashana, guys.
Madam, in fact, I used to think the same until I visited their office today, and they gave me an estimate of how much it will cost. No, the estimate is real. It's cheaper than the one I even sent you.
Wow.
Building contractors, foremen, masons. Visit IPCP, the Trasacco Fast Floor. Engineers will assist you build an affordable, faster and stronger building.
Oh, madam. It is done.
Wow.
Trasacco Fast Floor. Stronger, faster and affordable.
This is a Trasacco construction product.
Welcome back from that short breather. Now let's do some sports updates. The Ghana Football Association GFA has postponed the upcoming super clash between Accra Hearts of Oak and Kumasi Asante KOTOKO. The decision was made due to Hearts' tight schedule as a result of their participation in the CAF Confederation Cup playoff.
The two clubs were originally scheduled to lock horns on Sunday, December 12, 2021 for the first meeting in the 2021-2022 Ghana Premier League season. However, due to the tight schedule of Accra House of Folk as a result of their participation in the Confederation Cup playoff, the Ghana Football Association has resorted to postponing the game. In a statement issued by the FA, the Ghanaian champions are expected to return home on Friday, December 10th from their second leg encounter against JS Sarah in the CAF Confederation Cup playoff, making it impossible to play the match against KOTOKO in the Week 7 fixture. It concluded that a new date will be communicated in due course.
Now to some more football news, the Ghana Under-20 female national football team, the Black Princesses, have arrived in Zambia ahead of the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup qualifier.
The Black Princesses face Zambia in the second round of qualifiers following Mauritania's withdrawal from the first stage, which handed them an automatic qualification into the next round. This will be their first in the qualifiers under new coach Ben Foku, who was appointed few months ago. Ghana will be hoping for a good result in Lusaka this week before the return leg in Accra a fortnight time. According to coach Ben Foku, who has named a strong squad dominated by players of Hazake's ladies for the encounter against the young Shi Polo Polo, the Princesses are ready for the test following an intensive preparation for the past 3 months.
Now let's turn our attention to the GPL, where coach Ignatius Oseofosu has reported Ghana Premier League side Mediama SC to the Ghana Football Association Players and Coaches Status Committee for illegally terminating his 2-year contract with the club.
The 35-year-old was fired from his job as head coach of the Mauve and Yellows after just 3 months in charge. Mediama relieved the former Liberty Professionals Antechiman 11 Wonders trainer just 3 games into the season, in which he failed to record a single win. The former Hunters trainer is now demanding compensation in excess of 300,000 Ghana cedis from the club. The duties of the Player Status Committee include settling of employment status, eligibility, compensation, and contractual disputes involving GFA, clubs, players, coaches, and other officials, intermediaries, and licensed match agents.
Well, that's all we have for today's sports. We have some entertainment updates coming up next.
It's the most wonderful month of the year, and Ridge Royal Hotel will make it even more superb. Join Let's welcome our brothers and sisters from the diaspora to the historic city of Cape Coast, where it all began. The celebration train begins with a Farmers' Day afternoon jam on December 3 featuring Chirampon Traditional. The Wakanda One City of Return Trade Expo is on from 6 to 12 December. 22nd December is Osabrema Ridge Royal Carol service, and on Christmas Day, the Trinity Music Group will treat you to a fabulous poolside praise. The 27th December Z, or the first of its kind fishermen and fishmongers bash at the pool area. Z is also 31st night will be a rollicking time as we enjoy the King's New Year Gala night with the Rock Factory. Truly, December at Ridge Royal Hotel is richly inviting and comfortably yours. Get involved.
Such a happy, happy song.
Hello? Okay, why? My wife comes and I send a message you. Hello? What's happened?
It's a chunk, but also be a quiet, say what? I dare say,
Inside front of friend, I'm so here. who has not text messages here. And our office also, toilet time. She says, I mean,
himself, we a guy man, and may young who could look cry. And to also want a family drilling company limited for Kana.
What's it then? Family Drilling Company Limited.
Ye two borehole, biofuel, biogas, swimming pool, plumbing works in Naso, ye be, Frey 0240-333-111, and NASA 0244-144-822.
Me and Pa and we want swimming pool on me fee. Me want to, we will be here. Family drilling now. Family drilling.
Dog fashion yala shit.
Me out with that shit.
Welcome back now to some showbiz news. The West African nation of Senegal is home to numerous sites which have both historical and cultural significance. On today's showbiz segment, we will shift focus on the House of Slaves in Senegal.
The House of Slaves and its door of no return is a museum and memorial to the Atlantic slave trade on Guri Island, 3 kilometers off the coast of Senegal's capital city, Dakar. Following its construction in 1776, the facility became a holding center for enslaved African people to be exported. The house was owned by an Afro-French woman, Anna Colas Penin, who owned several ships and participated in the slave trade. Conditions in the building were harrowing, with many of the imprisoned perishing before they reached the ships. Captured enslaved people were imprisoned in dark, airless cells and spent days shackled to the floor, their backs against the walls, unable to move. Families were separated both at the house, with men, women and children being held in separate quarters, as well as after boarding the ship, since most of them were not sent to the same location. Young girls in particular were held separately from the rest of the imprisoned being, paraded in the courtyard so that the traders and enslavers could choose them for sex. If they become pregnant, they were allowed to remain on the island until they give birth. Converted into a museum and memorial in 1962, largely through the work of Boubacar Joseph Indie, the House of Slaves now stands as a testament to the human suffering and devastation caused by the slave trade. Indie and supporters have submitted that there is evidence the building itself was originally built to hold a large number of enslaved people, and that as many as 15 million people pass through this particular door of no return.
Well, that's how we draw curtains on today's edition of the Midday News Pan-African News live here on Pan-African Television. My name is Blessed Alormasor. So many thanks for your time. Do want to connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and now TikTok at Pan-African Television. Do have a pleasant day.
Hello, information. But ask. Me, I have still not got the money for that list of expensive building materials you sent to me. The price of the iron rods have been